Hello everyone. In this video I will be discussing the topic of the fragmentation of our self and the projection of our fears into the external environment or into our social interactions, our relationships, and so on. Many people are familiar with the idea of our stress response or our fight or flight type of response when we feel that we're in some type of threat or danger. This is an instinctual type of reaction, something that we're innately designed to do for self-preservation. As an example, if someone is trying to cause physical harm to you, you might choose to fight, to physically react to protect yourself. You might choose to run away, to attempt to escape that physical danger. This carries over into situations where we feel threatened more in a psychological way. We may feel afraid of being judged, of being embarrassed, of being humiliated. We may be afraid of being rejected or abandoned. These are common types of fears that people experience, since psychologically we wish to feel that we're loved and appreciated. We want to feel connected. And anything that threatens those comfortable feelings, those things that bring us a sense of well-being, would be something that we wish to avoid. We don't want to experience physical pain, and we also wish to not experience emotional pain. So we often apply those innate or instinctual protective mechanisms to avoid the potential of experiencing either of those physical or psychological forms of pain or discomfort. In a relationship, a person may feel threatened and may fight with their partner, both using verbal aggression and or physical aggression. A person may try to distance themselves from a partner. They may choose to physically run away from a partner or reduce their communication with a partner. These are some of the common forms of reactions to feeling some type of psychological threat is present. In the realm of spiritual psychology, there are many teachings about mindfulness, about practicing presence, so just being more centered in a state of pure awareness, where you're able to observe yourself and your surroundings without being in a reactive mode, without having your emotions take over or your instinctual protective mechanisms influencing how you perceive things. When we're in those more reactive modes, our mind will tend to filter and distort things to reinforce our perceptions, to justify how we're reacting. So if we're fearful, if we distrust someone, we'll start to interpret their words and their actions in a way that fits our preconceived or our prejudiced idea. We start to make lots of assumptions. We react without thinking things through. We may try to push that other person to act or react in a way that reinforces our expectations, and we may do that unconsciously. It's kind of like our belief systems are governing our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors, and thereby creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. We may, in a sense, drive that other person toward eventually reacting in a way that confirms their fears. This is kind of the insidious nature of how that egoic part of our mind can function. When it's caught up in fear, it will act or react in ways that often lead to the fulfillment of that fear. And so it becomes a negative spiral where we have the fear and we act in ways that in some way lead toward that fear being reinforced, making that fear even stronger, leading to us reacting in that same way, continuing that cycle until we find a way to break out of it, to halt our reactions, to train ourselves to be more present, more mindful, more aware of our own distortions, of our own dysfunctional patterns. In a sense, we are all fragmented. We are not whole in our consciousness. We are caught up in a variety of reactive or protective mechanisms that interfere with our ability to be fully conscious and present, to be whole and aware, to be able to see things more clearly and completely. For this reason, I encourage each of you to practice mindfulness, to practice meditative exercises that help your mind at least slow down somewhat so you can be more self-observant, more aware of how you're reacting and responding to things, more conscious of the patterns that have been present in your life, giving you the opportunity to take responsibility for the role that you are playing in your experiences and your interactions with others. A big challenge is to learn to master our own vibrational state, our own state of consciousness. When we get caught up in the lower frequency emotional states, in fear, in anger, resentment, insecurity, shame, guilt, and so on, we tend to react to things in ways that are influenced by those emotions and which foster more of the undesirable experiences that we were actually attempting to avoid or escape. We have that aspect of our mind which is often labeled as the ego, which is concerned with self-preservation, with feeling safe and secure, with feeling appreciated and validated. And that part of our mind often overrules rational thought. It often leads us to react in ways that are not well suited to the reality of the situation or circumstance that we're in. If you're in physical danger, it does make sense to preserve yourself by fighting or fleeing. But in situations where we feel in some way psychologically threatened, that reaction will often lead toward negative consequences in our relationships, in our family, in our job, and so on. So we don't want to be caught up in that fighting or fleeing response in those situations. We want to learn to communicate in healthy, effective ways. We want to learn to be more confident, more comfortable within ourselves, where we don't overreact to our surroundings and the people around us. We each have developed different forms of tendencies or personality patterns that are in some way imbalanced or distorted. This generally begins in childhood as whatever temperament we've come into this lifetime with interacts with the experiences we have with our caregivers and other people in our environment. So we adapt in various ways to those circumstances. We learn to handle things in certain ways, and we maintain those patterns throughout much of our life unless we realize that they're no longer functional and we choose to reprogram ourselves, to recondition ourselves to see things and react in different ways. This is a task that we all have. No one out there is perfectly conscious, perfectly centered, in a state of complete wholeness and awareness. We all have this work to do, per se, this psychological and spiritual work of becoming more balanced, more conscious, and more clear. I congratulate and applaud each of you who are pursuing this work of personal improvement, seeking to be more centered, more healthy and whole, to handle things in your life in a more mindful, a more constructive way. For those that are looking for additional resources to assist you with this, I invite you to view more of my videos on YouTube, as well as to visit my website, www.phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. In addition to information about the healing and therapy services that I provide, you'll find a link section there for education, for learning about well-being of body, mind, and spirit, a full holistic approach to health and personal growth. For now, I want to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.